So, as our heroes head towards the last station, with knowledge of a crisis about to unfold, it looks like Bam is having a wardrobe crisis of his own. Why does he look like a cowboy? Yeehaw! Howdy, partner! Hello everyone and welcome to the Enemies Earlier, and thanks for joining me as we talk about the Last Station arc and the Evankhell arc within the Tower of God webtoon series. Overall, these two arcs were brilliant and helped display just how much characters like Misang have grown, while also showcasing just how incredible Evankhell really is. Taking on multiple high-ranking rankers and leaders all on his own, plus getting to see part of her backstory was surprising, yet a nice addition to this arc overall. So starting off, let's talk about Evankhell and Hansung Yu, as I think that would be a good place to start with what we learned from these two characters, as they both share a similar resolve. Neither one of them fears death. In fact, it's the possibility of them losing their desires and their emotions. That's what frightens them the most. For Evankhell, she finds that having to bow down to someone and just follow orders like a blind dog would be a fate worse than death. It would feel like her flames of passion and anger, destruction would have extinguished. And that is the thing she fears the most. Her flame extinguishing. Where Hansung Yu fears his emotions fading. That's his biggest fear, as his thirst for change and believes that he holds a chance to make change within the tower. He wants to keep those type of emotions and those feelings and those desires. If they were to fade away, that would be a big travesty for him. And we kind of saw a glimpse of this while on the hidden floor, with the data version of himself seeing what actions data Hansung Yu took and what choices he decided to make. He knew that if he waited for Bam in the hidden floor, Bam would one day come, or as he referred to him, the son of V. These two characters I found connected really well together, despite us as the reader not having a lot of time to showcase their interactions and how they work on a regular basis. Just off of their actions and their words alone that have already been presented, it's clear that both characters have a mutual type of respect for each other. I can't imagine Evankhell taking on a student easily, so Hansung Yu must have impressed her just that much. And lastly, on these two characters, I loved seeing the skills and the combat experiences that Evankhell displayed within these arcs. It turns out, like Bam, she too can use a orb, and yet hers seems a bit more rarer based on the dialogue from her opponents. As for Hansung Yu, I like seeing his offensive Shinzu capabilities, as we have yet to see that in the previous arcs before this one. So seeing what he can do from an action standpoint, I thought was incredible. And I liked seeing how calm he was in the midst of all of this situation while in Karaka's heart. Not gonna lie, the fact that everyone was kind of looking around, Evankhell was wondering why on earth they'd been sent there, Hansung Yu just sat there with a nice little cup of coffee, just chilling and drinking. I thought that was great. Another great pair within these arcs were of course White and Karaka, our two slayers of Fug. Seeing how White merged with his clone and regained a fraction of his full power was rather heartbreaking for me personally, as I can't lie, I really like the design of the clone. However, my mind though about White in general were a mixed set of feelings, as his involvement was rather comedic throughout. Now when I say comedic, I meant for the fact is that no one believed he was his ancient slayer known as White. Whenever he used his power, it would be similar to what the rankers and regulars there kind of thought White would be like, but not quite on the oomph level that they were expecting. So when they kept capturing him or going after him, they kept referring to him as the regular that refers to himself as White, not taking him that seriously. But when he was using his full power, that was magnificent. And it was beautifully drawn at the same time. The panels gave off an exciting chill and a vibe within the air that just made you get drawn in to what you were reading. Seeing a demonic presence appear during the blast reminded me of Bam's blue demon that he has within himself, so I do like that kind of parallel and that kind of concept. Learning more about White's backstory was awesome as well, having the head of the Airy clan tell him that he sees the seed of a demon within White, and that White should go to the deep, damp darkness of evil. While there, use his rage towards himself as fuel and increase his power by burning and devouring the souls of the weak. Just imagine being told this by someone you looked up to, someone you respected as a child. No wonder White turned out as sinister, as crazy, as evil as he did. But you know what? I wouldn't have him any other way, because White is a great antagonist throughout the story. As for Karaka, I think more will come from his character in the next few arcs. We didn't get to see a lot from him within these two, but we did get a glimpse of his forces in action as they broke through a portal that was leading them to the battlefield from Karaka's own heart. Obviously, working with a plan devised by himself and Evan, as he was easily convinced in being captured in the first place. So of course there's a plan in the works here going on. I'm curious to see why Karaka can't just store Wangnam inside of his own heart, like Karaka does with his servants, but if you know, and it's not a massive spoiler, then of course, let me know, explain in the comments down below. That'd be greatly appreciated. The next pair I want to talk about are both princesses of Jahad, Endorsi and Yuri. These two characters have been wonderful to read throughout the series so far. Getting to see their progress and their development have been magnificent. And in these two arcs, it was much of the same fun, enjoyable times to be had. Seeing how Endorsi got a bit annoyed or even slightly jealous at Bam dashing off to save yet another girl in distress was great. But even greater, seeing how she was worried about Bam all along and how all of these situations might have affected him personally, and was relieved when she learned that Bam is still the same. His personality, his conviction, his way of doing things has not faltered or changed or swayed in any way, shape or form. Bam is still Bam. He's still just like he was when he first entered the tower, but of course a little bit more mature now. Plus, her use of Bing Bong on the cuts, getting Rachel's team captured, was brilliant. I was laughing a lot when this happened, because not only does it serve some nice justice to Rachel by getting her captured, but it also makes Jahad's army look like fools, thinking they've captured their main targets. But oh no, in great Endorsi fashion, she did the old switcheroo with the Bing Bong and the teleportation devices that Evan had. Plus, her fashion sense was insanely on point here. I love those outfits that she has. Her design has been brilliant. So SIU has really been doing a great job on that front. Now, one princess who seems to never change her clothes would be Yuri Jahad. What I loved most about her character, though, was her mental struggles she had to face within these arcs. She had to go through making a choice that would define the rest of her future as a princess of Jahad. After all, she was included in the list of people on the Hell Train that needed to be killed by the orders of the king. Now, had she just rolled over and gotten herself arrested quietly, she might have been able to save herself from disownment or even death. However, staying true to her beliefs and her convictions and her code of ethics, she joins Bam's team in saving the captured regulars, losing any hope of redemption for her character in basically allowing the king to give her a pardon in the future. That's not likely to happen now that Yuri has used one of the 13-month weapons, or even just Shinzu-based skills, against Jahad's army. She's now branded a traitor. But on a lighter note though, both princesses love kicking Bam in the head, and you know what? Seeing that again, reminding us of that, It was a good comedic moment. The one thing I really liked about this set of arcs was we have this big climactic battle that is going on. Stakes are high, people are getting captured, threat of death is everywhere. But at the same time, SIU is giving us a lot of comedy, just really smartly placed in places that make us laugh and break up the uneasy tension and the danger that is occurring. Even having one of the, I think it was the frog lady with Pollock kind of having mucus everywhere. That wasn't funny, but it broke up the dreaded tension that our heroes might actually die at some point. And speaking of Bam, let's talk about Bam and Haryun, as the path laid out in front of them was said to be hard but unlikely for success, where Team B was said to have a greater chance of escaping. However, though, Haryun wasn't being all that truthful, and actually gave Bam the chance with greater success, knowing that Team Boro might actually get captured and possibly executed as a result of it. So this built up a bit of tension between the two of them. But Bam's eyes were opened when Haryun actually stated she was not the one to choose the team. Bam chose these teams based on those he values more. After all, the main objective was to escape with Khun, get him to safety, and get him some treatment. Reminding Bam that once again, saving everyone isn't a possibility, especially at Bam's current level, when all of these high-ranking officials and army Jahad members are around. Despite this though, Bam still shows his self-destructive ways, in basically still going after saving his captured friends. He would rather die first than see his friends or someone he cares about die in front of him. Now this is very true to Bam's character, so I'm not going to bash his character too much here. But of course, we have been trying to move him slightly away from this, but at the same time, when we go back to what was said on the hidden floor, Bam needs to start making his own choices. And he needs to start seeing the consequences of those choices and basically do what he wants to do, not what other people have been telling him to do. So from this perspective, it may seem like we're going backwards with Bam's character, but at the same time, to me as a reader, I feel like he's actually making progress in some weird, non-moving way. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, well, I can try and clear it up a bit better in the comments down below, if you want me to, that is. As a side note though, Rak in this situation was brilliant. He wanted to go, but he knew that Bam was relying on Rak to take care of Khun and ensure his safety. Understanding that Bam does care about Khun and the others, but he also realizes that Bam can't let people die in front of him. So Rak does respect Bam for this. And you know what? That's the reason why Rak decided to stay. He knew he had an important role to do, and Rak at the end of the day may not like the other people as much, but he still does have a connection with them. Learning more about the lore within the tower is always fun to read. So seeing what makes the two guides different in how the Red Witches see fate while the White Dwarfs see crossroads that lie in front of them was really interesting to learn, and yeah, I like to see that sort of inclusion within arcs. Little bits of information and lore like that just help expand the world and expand the tower, making me more invested in the stuff around them and in certain characters. But the final pair that I want to talk about in this video are Misang and Levy, as these two characters were very surprising, but for very different reasons. Seeing just how much Misang has grown in now being able to control her berserk state and strength, the same sort of strength she displayed in the workshop battle arc, and releases it in small bursts, allowing her to have a bit more of an edge and a bit more of an oomph and impact when facing other opponents. Plus, she's also very skilled in using her observer, which is something we haven't yet explored very much, so I'm glad they showed that as well. Now, of course, this is all thanks to her Shinzu attribute, which we obviously learned on the hidden floor with Ed and Khun, but at the same time, we get introduced to the fact that Endorsi gave Misang that device to help kind of project what your Shinzu is likely to materialize as, and this obviously allows her to train on her own and show off that great progress. and I genuinely am happy to see her progress throughout the series, because seeing her start off as a very weak, timid character, and seeing how much she changed now, the contrast is amazing. The character building is fantastic. Where we have Levy, who is a new character, who is a D rank regular, who has permission to use spells, and is employed to the Jahad army in order to do the king's dirty work. He could have been promoted to a ranker by now with the rest of his teammates and friends, but he was honoured with the authority to control spells, and now works in the forces of Jahad. I really do want to learn more about this character though, because the way they explained his character and the way that he was theoretically expressing how his role within the army works and how he was employed to do the king's dirty work in fighting other regulars, it made me want to learn more about the darker side that the king may actually have under his thumb. Jahad is still up in the air. He's still a mystery, even though we've been learning more and more about him slowly but surely. So learning more and more about his army and how the darker side of it kind of comes into play, I'd love to explore that a lot more. Plus, I want to see how he ended up in this particular role in the first place. So he's an intriguing character, not my favourite new character introduced from these two arcs, but still a really fun one, and hopefully we see more from him soon. So those were the main talking points I wanted to cover from these two arcs. A lot did happen, so if I forgot something, then of course let me know in the comment section down below. Now we do also get a plethora of new characters introduced, with my favourite character being Airy Bright. I don't know, just something about her character has a lot of grace both in the design and in her actions, and you know what, I'm always wanting to explore the difference in the Airy families, and I think there were talks and dialogue of a faction within the Airy clan or household, because the one that Bright is affiliated with doesn't get swords, but the ones who are full-blooded like Khun get swords. I'm going to have to reread that again because that was a little bit iffy to me, but at the same time, when we learn more and more about the 10 great households, it's always interesting to hear. The action and the fights looked amazing and felt intense when reading. The plot being created is really fun and exciting, but in a way that keeps us guessing as to how these events are going to transpire, as battlefields continue to grow and heat up, both in a literal sense and in a metaphorical sense. Being that Caliban is now looking to arrive, but standing in his way is of course Bam's teacher. This encounter should be epic moving forward, and hopefully we get to see these two square off, because we knew that Jin Sungha was actually weary of Caliban, and they've been hyping his character up throughout these two arcs already, so I'm excited to see what he's bringing to the table as a squadron commander. Yeah, art style, amazing, fantastic, really hard work put into that, and you can definitely tell by reading it, but I really can't wait for the next few arcs and just see how this season concludes. But yeah, like I said, if I have obviously missed out anything, let me know in the comment section down below. We'll have a good chat about it, and I do hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, hit that like button, and of course subscribe for more Tower of God content from myself. We're slowly but surely moving up the tower, and hopefully you'll join me for that trip. But if you haven't already found and saw the news, Tower of God is returning soon, so if you're already caught up with it, then make sure you stay tuned for that, because I will be covering that once I reach that particular point. I'm quite a bit off, I think, but we'll get there soon, trust me. Other than that though, have a great day, alligator, matane, goodbye.